No, it just knocked you and me
Okay.
both out. That's all.
Oh, knocked
Does
everybody
it
out.
sound
Okay. Well, the good news is
good?
I'm not, at least initially, hearing the feedback now. Good.
Okay, good.
So you might check with your
Yeah,
audience.
yeah.
Is it
Everybody,
better
let me know if it's better or not.
when they get back? Now their complaint will be, hey, I got knocked off the webinar. Well, that is the challenge of technology. That's actually one of the things I meant to
Okay,
talk about on the
it's
front
all
end.
good. We're all
We're good?
good. We're good.
Okay. So let me just say briefly that I am going to be turning, believe it or not, 60 years old in a few days, and I have been resistant to technology. And one of the things I see is there are 20-something kids that are running circles around me in real estate. Why? Because they've embraced technology. So
Right.
I can have all the old dog, old school knowledge in the world, but you, me, everyone here, we need to go ahead and to learn how to use every resource at our, and I spend more time studying Apple and software and marketing and, I mean, anything internet, I study that more than real estate right now. So here's what I can tell you. The number one thing you're going to need to be successful in real estate is a belief that you can do it, and a belief that all the things you don't know, you don't need to know. Right, Gene?
You know, you learn as you go, and you just have to
You
know that.
just, you see as far as the headlights will go, and then when you get there, you see from there. And so if you're going from Austin to Los Angeles and you're driving, it's thousands of miles, but you only go as far as you can see. You don't worry about the rest of the journey. And that's the same with all this. I mean, I knew nothing about wholesaling. I knew nothing about foreclosures. I knew nothing about short sales. It scared me and intimidated me to go to other states. But that fear and that intimidation was in my head, in my beliefs, in my perception, in my mindset. And so there's people on this webinar right now, and you're going, oh, well, I would never go buy in another state. I would never rehab remotely. I would never wholesale. I mean, how much risk do you have really when you wholesale? And again, if you do it correctly, most of my deals, I've actually put up $10, and that's as much risk as I had. Now, sometimes I put up 50 to 100, but what I'm going to be doing is finding people to work with me in Baton Rouge, and they will be the active party. My Roth IRA will be the passive party, and my passive party will then sell to these end buyers that you should see on the screen, which are rehabbers and landlords. There's no shortage of buyers right now. Matter of fact, a property that is well positioned and well priced and repaired and everything in Baton Rouge, it goes very quickly right now because there's a shortage of inventory. And there's a shortage of inventory for God's sakes, 40 to 60,000 houses flooded. FEMA came in with trailers. The government and FEMA came in paying for hotel rooms. It was actually hard to find a hotel room in Baton Rouge at one time because virtually all hotel rooms filled up, and it's a lot cheaper going to Lafayette an hour away. So that being said, things are constantly changing. You need to be willing to have a mindset that you're constantly changing. You're constantly learning. You're constantly growing. And whether it's technology or looking at other markets around the country or building relationships, I see people all the time who say, oh, I do everything myself. Really? So what about the rehab? Oh, no, I get a hammer. I get a paintbrush. I don't hire a contractor. I go do the work myself. Really? Well, I'm sorry to inform you, but that might be therapy for you, but you're not a real professional investor. A professional investor, our job is, number one, find the deal. Number two, put the systems and the team in place. And number three, raise the capital. Those three basic things is what we do. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, it's the fastest path to money.
Yes, and
Doing
the
your own
key
work.
is, well, what's most valuable is finding a deal. Finding a deal, I have been paid $5,000 for 5 hours of my time before when I wholesaled it. That's $1,000 an hour. I'm sure you've made that kind of money before too. And I don't make that kind of money rehabbing a house. I mean, most people I pay them 15 to 25 to 50 to maybe at the I paid a rehab guy that was actually the investor rehabber. I paid him $100 an hour. He was ecstatic. He put in 100 hours and made $100 an hour. I put in 10 hours and made 10,000 on a house that I found. I lined up the financing. I lined up everything. And then when I went on my merry way traveling, having a good time, that's what I enjoy doing. So the goal, big picture wise here, is get your mindset where you can do deals, living anywhere, being anywhere like Gene does, like I do. Now, I'm willing to travel and go anywhere because, again, I want to have that hands-on experience. But I can tell you right now, for the people on the call, some of you might not even be here yet, but there's note opportunities. So those of you that are saying, well, this isn't about notes. Yes, it is. Well, there's apartment opportunities. There's apartments that flooded. So, you know, and again, I meant to say this up front, if you're interested in investing in apartments, there's an opportunity. If you're interested in investing in notes, there's an opportunity. So you need to get educated on the relationship between all these things, because there's going to be opportunity in the next 12 to 24 months, maybe just not Baton Rouge, but other places. There'll be problems, there'll be opportunities, and that's how you have to train yourself to think. So these end buyers are so easy to find, because if you go to the local real estate investment club and you say, I've got a deal, you've got a room full of buyers right there. Plus you put signs out, you put on the MLS. I mean, there's nothing available really on the MLS right now. I mean, it's hard to find things. And so people are charging things above the formula. And most things I've been looking at, I wouldn't pay because it needs such a major rehab. I would want a deeper discount to offset the risk and the unknown variables. Let's talk about contractors for a moment, Gene. You've never had a problem with a contractor your entire career, have you?
You know what? If a contractor hasn't screwed me yet, they will.
Oh, well, you know, they do have these screwdrivers. That's Phillips head, flathead. And I say, do you have all the tools necessary? They say, yes, we do. And I say, step number one, you need to give us 50%.
I may have to pull out a chastity belt for these guys, because that's the only leverage I could have with them.
Well, something to keep in mind is that right now, if you go and read The Advocate, which is a local publication, there is contractor after contractor who's been charged with fraud, who they're being arrested, they're being imprisoned, they're local and out of town. Whenever you have a disaster like this, there are a variety of folks that come in town. Now, there are greedy investors who come in town too. So we're going to talk in just a moment here about the assignment of the beneficial interest and also the Roth IRA. But the point being in all this is simply the following. Number one, that what you've got to do is be willing to get outside your comfort zone. That's part of your mindset. You've got to be willing to reach out to me, to Gene. Our emails will be here at the end. We don't bite. We don't charge anything for initial consultation for 5 to 10 to 15 minutes. Now, we're not here available for hours and hours of inbound picking our brain. No, that's not the program, because we've got our own deals to do. But basically, I'm going to be offering a series in addition to this of actual training, very affordable. And again, if you email me, I'm going to have it start as low as $200 a month for the watchers, $500 a month like Gene's doing for the people who are going to be much more hands-on. I'll get into that in the explanation in the email. And they actually offer a guaranteed program that's $3,000 for 3 months, where I actually work with you. And again, it doesn't have to be Baton Rouge. It could be Charlotte. It could be anywhere in the country. And basically, I'll work with you because, again, it's not just short sales. Short sales are a tool. It's not just foreclosures. It's not just probate. Probate, I love. I'm an expert at that. But it's distressed real estate and how to use all these tools in your tool belt, where you've got a hammer, you got pliers, you got all these different things, so you know on a case-by-case basis how to do that opportunity. But I've been studying for over 20 years with the top teachers I can find, and I've wasted my share of money on gurus myself. So, but basically on the screen right now regarding tip is there's going to be assignment of beneficial interest. Now, I've already talked to some people in Louisiana who've already said to me, oh, we don't do land trust here. Well, trust law is nationwide. And okay, even if they don't do land trust, there's still a living trust. Every state has trust law for, like, when people are going to die. You can either do probate or you can do trust. You want to say something about that, Gene?
Yeah. Actually, what I meant by that, the assignment of beneficial interest, certainly, yeah, that's a tool that I use in trusts all the time. All of my deals are I put into trusts, land trusts, and I do assign the beneficial interest as far as wholesaling. But what I meant in this particular case is assignment of the beneficial interest of any insurance. For example, one of the articles that I read has an opportunity for landlords to get some kind of financial help getting their place fixed up again, so they can offer, offer their property to low-income renters. And so that kind of benefit you want to be able to transfer, so you don't want to lose the government spending that hasn't really occurred yet. So you want to make sure that you leverage that.
Yeah, some of it has come in, and some of it, again, the government process with FEMA and everything can be very slow. And so that's the thing to keep in mind. Right now, 12 months later, there's still a lot of disaster, thousands and thousands of vacant homes, lots of opportunity. And they've said, okay, now we're going to discontinue. It's been a year now. We've been paying for these hotels all this time. So sorry, you got to move out. So the demand is going to spike again from all these people moving out of these houses, but they're going to be looking specifically for affordable housing. And so there's a variety of opportunities. So every 2 weeks, and again, it may get to once a week, we'll be talking about some of these little niche opportunities. But the main thing I want to focus on in this webinar specifically, number one, is simply that when you find the seller and you can get it under contract and all these different things, if you're going to sell to somebody else and the bank is approving the short sale and it's in your name personally, they're going to say, well, wait a minute, who's this Gene Norton thing? We're selling to you. You can't just go ahead and have Gene close. We're selling to you. So one way of doing it is you can do it in an LLC, and then you can assign the interest in the LLC to somebody like Gene. That's one way of doing it. The most common way we normally use is a land trust or some kind of a trust instrument that we assign the beneficial interest in that trust. Another way you can do it is we have what's called transaction funding, and that's where there's a lender. It's a fantastic deal for the lender. If anybody has got money, you want to do transaction funding, I'm telling you, we'll need to do a training just on that. But you might charge 1 or 2 points, but if the money is in and out in a week, and you don't release your money until the end buyer has got their money sitting at the title company, done correctly, there should be virtually zero risk and a huge return. So the money is in and out, short-term turnaround, but just the same, it's one of those deals that there's an opportunity. And that being said, if somebody out there has money sitting dormant right now, right, Gene, in an IRA.
I have some.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You got some. Okay.
I'll do transactional funding. Yeah.
Okay. Well, a Roth IRA or a retirement or 401k, especially, there's not just millions, there's billions of dollars. And on top of that, with the stock market at record high right now, a lot of people are starting to get nervous and are pulling their money out of the market and moving it into money market funds or cash. So there's opportunities. Some people are being private lenders. Some people are buying notes. Matter of fact, I've always got notes. If anybody, I got a small note right now that's about $8,000 to $10,000 here in Texas, if somebody's interested. So I've always got funding opportunities. Anybody who's an active investor. Go ahead, Gene.
Just said we can do that deal.
Yeah. So there's always opportunities for funding. And so the point being is there's people out there say, oh, Mark, I've only got $5,000 or $10,000. It's not enough. No, that's not true. So there's a thing called subject to. There's a thing called lease option. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But the point being is I'm looking for people that are in Baton Rouge that are going to be bringing me deals. And I'm going to be ongoingly sending out messages, contacting people, say to people, bring me a short sale deal. If people don't take the action, don't do that, then I will be literally hiring somebody to be sending out, like I know how to find deals on Facebook. I know how to find deals through agents. Now, normally, most of the time when I'm doing a short sale, I want to be in there early before the agent. I have done short sales successfully before where the homeowner was referred to me. Again, the best deals are not through advertising. The best deals are word of mouth relationship. And that's the thing I love, again, about Baton Rouge. It's a smaller community. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows somebody who's been impacted by the flood. So my goal short term is through the local real estate investor association, find those people who have those relationships, been sitting on their hands, and say, bring those contacts to me. In Houston, I had a guy back, it was before the last crash, and they said, hey, I've got this house, and it's a rental. I was able to short sell that house. I was able to sign it. I think I made a $10,000 assignment fee on that property. I mean, this house was like brand new. Didn't even need anything. But I was able to show the package of where we were at in the market is the values were falling. So everything in a short sale that's key, it starts with number one, you've got to have the homeowner's cooperation. Number two, you got to put together the right package. And number three, that package has got to show where it's advantageous to the bank or the lender to be able to take a discount now versus a discount you're going to take later. Because that bank, when they go through that foreclosure process, especially if it takes a long time, they're going to have month after month of taxes, insurance, lost interest. There's all this that comes into play. And if you know how to use a calculator and calculate and put this package together, you can say, hey, bank, if you sit on this house for 2 years before making any income. Number two, real estate owned, goes through that process. And oftentimes you'll see these houses sitting out there for a year or more. So it can be years of lost income and revenue for these banks. That's one of the reasons why a short sale may be advantageous to them. We'll talk about the homeowner in just a minute, but Jean wants to add something. Go ahead.
Well, I think we sort of lost you a little bit. We've lost video. You're on
really?
audio. Yeah, it could be a weak wireless connection. I don't know.
Huh.
But a question did come in saying, what is a short sale? I'm sorry that we didn't make that clear in the beginning, but do you want to answer
Yeah, well,
that?
we got disrupted a couple times, so I sort of lost my train of thought, so I apologize to everybody. But let's go back to this. So, because I was on that train and then we dropped or had problems. So basically, a short sale is where, as I was explaining, somebody's got a $200,000 house. This $200,000 house, they put 5% down, which is very common. And it was a house in good condition, move-in ready, had been renovated or brand new. And with their 5% down, like an FHA loan, that's a Federal Housing Administration loan, they got a loan for $190,000. Now this flood comes along, or whatever the situation might be, and they're not making payments. Along with the not making payments, not only was it upside down at 190, but now they might owe 220, 240, 250, and it needs 50, 60, $100,000 in repairs. So that's what I say. The market value fixed up is maybe 200, and what to make it whole might take 300. So somebody's going to take a loss, and who's going to take a loss is going to be the bank. So the bank does what's called a short sale, which means that they agree to a sale, but instead of taking the 200, 250, 300, whatever amount that's owed them, they agree, okay, we need to get this off our books. We have federal regulators who look at our performing and non-performing asset. This is a non-performing asset. And so we're going to sell this at some price as high as we can so that we can get our money back out. And bottom line is, they might take $50,000 for that $250,000 debt. So they're going to lose $200,000, but they're going to write it off. Now, the last thing, oh yeah, and see the link there at the end, the advocate about Louisiana flood. There's a lot of ton of good information there. Again, make sure you make note of Jean's email, my email. And when you email me, I get lots. I get 500 emails a day. I'm sure you get a lot too. Please make sure you make note of webinar, Jean, Baton Rouge, something in there so when I see it. And also it helpful if you let me know where you're at, what part of the country, because we got people all over the country. That's helpful too. And if you can include your phone number, sometime that's easier. I can text you, might be faster. But the bottom line of all this is simply this. So the bank is agreeable to take $50,000. I then go ahead and I find a buyer like Jean that the numbers work for her, that she'll pay $60,000 for it. My contract to close, and I actually literally will close sometimes with traction funding that we're talking about, where I go to closing, I buy it with $50,000 of somebody else's money. I use zero of my own money, and then they're willing to do that because again, it's at such a deep discount, and Jean's $60,000 is already sitting there ready to come back and close. So we do the first closing. Depending on the case-by-case state and situation, they have to go and file at the courthouse. That could take a couple days. Most of the time, the transaction from start to finish can be a week or less. And when you have the right title company, that's important, the right attorney, the right team, the right everything, it goes very smoothly. You close, the money being held there. So Jean, as the buyer, her $60,000 is being held. And as soon as everything's ready to go, we do a second closing, and now she buys it from me for $60,000. That $10,000 comes to me as a wholesale profit, and that wholesale profit I share. And when I say I share it with my mentor who's helping me because he's got these contacts with these major banks, and we can get it through. He had 500 short sales a year he was doing. And 500 short sales a year, he's got contacts with all these banks. Also, with all the training I've had, my $20,000 investment, my 10 years of it, my over 20 deals, the last short sale deal I did in Texas, I closed with a local small community bank. That's a key and a little nugget there. And I closed it in 6 weeks. Now, most of the time, it takes, 3, 4, 6, 12 months or longer to close a short sale because it's a very, institutional type process. Anything you want to add there quickly, Gina? I know we're coming close to wrapping up here. It takes a while. But traditionally, it can. So that's one of the advantages of bringing it to me is we've got ways of getting these short sales closed in 60 to 90 days or less in 3, 6, 9, 12 months or more. So the whole point of why I'm doing this, I'm going to be doing this ongoingly, is finding people who say, geez, I thought I was going to do this short sale on my own. It's not worth it. I was going to throw it away. Don't throw it away. Throw it my way. And if I can make money, I will include you, and you get to learn on my deal that you brought me, plus you get paid. Now, when people say, oh, I get 50%, not exactly. You do 90% of the work, you can have 50% of the money. So basically, most cases on your first deal, if you don't have training and don't know what you're doing, it's going to be what we call a bird dog fee of maybe $500 to $1,000, about 10% of whatever I make. And if you actually are experienced and you know how to do all these things, and you can bring me, actually the mistake, they don't bring me in soon enough. And they bring it down the line where they've already negotiated with the bank, they've already got the wrong realtor involved, made a mess, and now they want me to come into their mess deal and try to clean it up. I'd rather come in early at the beginning where there's no realtor. It's not, that's the other thing you need to mention. We have to have good realtors on our team because most of these bigger banks all require the property to be listed. That's a whole nother course I'll get into detail in a future webinar. Just intended to be big picture, much of like what I did when I spoke in Baton Rouge. But again, part of it was getting the bugs out in doing a webinar. Since I've not done a webinar before, I'm going to go back and watch this. I'm going to cringe at all my errors and faux pas and everything. But the point being is, I just want people to open their mind to say, I'm in California. Maybe I could do a short sale. I want to say also that there was a broker that I've said.
Your
so
voice
Mark keeps cutting out
a lot. Your voice is cutting out a lot.
Okay, can you hear?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Hear me any better now? I'm like bringing the microphone right to my
mouth. Yeah, it just keeps cutting
mouth.
Off. Yeah, it's not as the.
Can you hear me?
I think it has to do with your connection.
Again.
Yeah. But there was a question that came. Yeah. Well, there's a question that came up, so
I
address that.
I am using a Starbucks for my connection. Yeah, if I can hear you, what's the question? Or you can email me the question.
Yeah, we may have to address the question afterwards.
Yeah, we're going to have to work out.
Just go ahead and see what it is. But it says, so if the house is already going through foreclosure.
Email me the question.
Yeah, we'll have to do this email, but I wanted to follow up also and say this is a perfect example.
Yeah, I can't even hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, hold on, Mark.
No,
don't talk.
You're breaking up.
Okay, because there's some feedback going on. I'm breaking up too? Well, that's a disappointment.
Yeah, it's all screwed up. Yep, it's really bad. We're going to have to figure out better technology. Sorry, everyone. First time.
I'm sorry it's breaking up so bad.
So,
but okay, I'm clear. Okay.
So this is
okay. Well, Lisa says that I'm clear and that you're not. So
yeah,
let me talk. Okay.
Yeah, it says Gina.
Right? Yeah, Mark is not. So, okay. So, all right. So let me just go ahead and summarize on what's going on and what you've been trying to say.
Worth rebooting and starting over again.
No, I think you should just be quiet, just for now, because there's something really wrong on your end. But I wanted to just go ahead and summarize what you're saying is that one. It's all about who you know. It's about your relationships. And Mark is well connected. He's got a mentor that has an in with a bunch of banks. If you happen to be in my advocacy group and be an advocacy client, you know that I'm well connected and will help out on any kind of real estate issue that you have coming across. So I invite you to join my group. And Mark, you're back. Say something and let's see if we can hear you. I don't hear anything. So, okay, well.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
I'm really, really sorry that
I
we're
went
having these technical difficulties. Nope.
No?
Nope.
Well.
It's really bad. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and have to end this. Please email either one of us, either Mark or myself, if you've got any questions. If you want to get more involved with with what Mark's doing in Baton Rouge, just talk to him about it. If you want to get more involved in real estate as in my group, in my private group, I'd love to have you. I'd love to talk to you about it. So thank you again. And the replay will be available for you and for everybody else that had registered but even didn't attend. If you have any more questions, go ahead and email us and we will answer them. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much for spending your day with us, your afternoon with us, and I will reach out to you soon, and everybody have a prosperous week. Bye-bye now.